Here at Dave Campbell's Texas Football, it's the off season, but that just gives us an opportunity to talk to some of the legends of the game from around the Lone Star State. And we are pleased to be joined in studio by former Houston Oilers quarterback, former Baylor quarterback, and former San Antonio Churchill quarterback, Cody Carlson. Commander Cody, it's good to see you.
Thank you, Greg. It's good to be here.
Thanks for taking some time. We were talking before we came on the air about how you are, in so many ways, like you're beloved in different parts of the state, between San Antonio, Waco, Houston. So I know there's a lot of people out there who are wondering what you're up to these days.
I don't know that I am beloved. I was, like any other player, you get mixed reactions depending upon your performance. So there's plenty of those that are still booing me, I'm sure. But it is great to be here, and it was great to be able to play all of my football in the state of Texas. So I appreciate that. Living in Waco now, and so it was just a little bit of a drive to get here to y'all's offices, and I appreciate y'all having me.
Well, we appreciate you taking some time with us. I want to go back to the very beginning of your career at Churchill, San Antonio, where you got to play for the legendary Jerry Comalander there at Churchill. And I am curious about the impact that your time playing under Coach Comalander had on your career.
Oh, it was foundational. I mean, I say that. My dad was my youth sports coach, very involved. And, I guess what he did was kind of set the tone for going out there, being a good sport, playing hard, competing, learning from your success and your failure. That was really the same message and same program that Jerry Comalander had as well. Just a man of high character. There was a healthy amount of fear as a player. He surrounded himself with very good coaches that all didn't have the same personalities, but saw things the same way. And they truly loved not just what they were doing, but loved the people that they were working with. So it was a great model for me to see.
From there, it was off to Baylor, where you had a legendary career down there with the Bears, the MVP of the 1985 Liberty Bowl, and then you led them to another win, the Bluebonnet Bowl in 1986. When you look back on your career there with the Bears, is there one or two games that stand out to you that you remember most fondly?
Yeah, I mean, I remember my first start at Baylor, and so at the time when I was coming out of high school, and let me just back up a little bit, I was one of the top 3 quarterbacks, in the state, most highly recruited. One of the others was Tom Mickey, and Tom Mickey ended up going to Baylor as well. So the story was, I knew that he was a great player, probably from reading about him in Texas football, and thought that if I committed first, that it would scare him off. Well, it didn't. He must have read my, summary and said, not that big a deal. But we ended up being really good friends. So we both rotated every other play, which was my first start or my first game to play in college. And it was against BYU. Steve Young was the quarterback. It was the year before they won the national championship, and had we not beaten them that opening game, they might have won it that year. Amazing team, and we ended up pulling out a victory because we had a real strong senior class, strong leadership, and coaches that were, that prepared us very well. So that would be one. We had some great games. We beat USC when they were the number 3 team in the country out in the Coliseum, so that was a big deal as well. And then LSU and the Liberty Bowl that you mentioned.
Yeah, you were the MVP of the Liberty Bowl in 1985, but it was Ray Berry who was the MVP of the Bluebonnet Bowl. Do you feel like you were robbed? It's been 37 years. We can speak candidly.
Well, I tell Ray that they tried to give it to me, but I just said, hey, Ray needs a little prop as well. Ray was kind of a thorn in my side all through college. He was my suite mate for the first couple of years, and we did things a little bit differently. But the beauty of the coaching staff modeling community for us is that we learned to get along really well. People from different backgrounds, different cultures, different races, coming together and pulling in the same direction. And it was just a joy to be out there.
Yeah, Baylor was special there in the Grant Taft era there in the 80s. From there, it was on to the NFL, where you played for the Houston Oilers, and you were in the same quarterback room as Warren Moon, one of the all-time greats. I just have, because I'm a big Warren Moon fan, I just have to ask what it was like just being in the same quarterback room with a guy like that.
I mean, sitting in the quarterback room, I felt like I belonged. It's when we stepped out on the field and I watched him throw, I was like, they missed something here. Maybe, is there a minor league? Or he was amazing. I mean, one of the most talented pure passers in the history of the game, probably. Very smart, very composed, had a tremendous career, Hall of Fame career. So it was, we all want to play. We love the game, and we want to not just go out there and practice, even though I don't remember a day where I didn't want to go to practice. Maybe during my rookie year when we were in two-a-days for 8 straight weeks. But I just love the game. But it was pretty hard to foresee or to see an opportunity there in Houston because Warren was just such a special player.
Well, you did get that opportunity, 1992.
Yeah.
Probably the season you're most known for down there in Houston. Warren Moon goes down with an injury. You step in and that's when you kind of become Commander Cody. Then I'm interested. I want to go back to that game against Minnesota where he fractures his shoulder. Do you remember what you were thinking in that moment?
Man, you're always try to stay prepared and envision, and stay keyed into the game and try to read it from the sidelines the same way that you're seeing it on the field, or maybe even with more clarity. But whenever that happens, whenever it's just all of a sudden you're in the game and you hadn't had the same preparation and warm-ups and know that you're starting and game plan it that way for the whole week, it's just, boy, you're thrown out there and you either perform or not. And so, preparation certainly is a big part of it, but also just being able to handle your nerves and anxiety in the pressure is a pretty big part of it as well.
I know you're still a football fan, watching the game. I'm interested from your perspective as a guy who played, high school to college, the pro level, how you've seen the game change maybe since you were taking.
It's changed dramatically. It's so much more sophisticated at every level. I mean, even from the high school level, they're probably doing a lot of the things that we did with the Oilers. With the spread offenses, run and shoot was the moniker for that type of offense, and they do a lot of the same route trees. But the game has changed. I mean, just the skills development. 7-on-7 ball in the off season, specialized coaching, lessons, that sort of thing. You're seeing much more prepared, physically much more prepared athletes. On the mental side of it, I mean, that comes at a cost, right? The game is, certainly there's potentially more pressure. There's more, there's more money in the game. Particularly with I would say the specialized coaching. And so, emotionally, you wonder if you have the same leverage as a coaching staff in high school that you once did. Now, I think those high school coaches are amazing, right? They're still the dominant influence in a lot of those players' lives. And so, fortunately, we have men that want to get into the game because they love the game, but they love the pupils as well. But I do think that, the game has just changed. It's almost hard to compare it in some ways.
And then we were talking before we came on about all the things you're doing down there in Waco, involved with kind of growing the business community down there in Waco. Another thing you're involved in is you are pretty integral in kind of what's going on with Baylor as far as the NIL is concerned. We were talking about just the moving target that it's been for you guys. I'm interested in your perspective on what the landscape of NIL looks like right now. Going forward, since you have such a hands-on approach with it.
Well, it is very fluid. It certainly, people compare it to a lot of things, the Wild Wild West, or it's hard to really pinpoint. What the issues are with it. I mean, it happens it didn't happen quickly. It started years ago with players, even I remember Northwestern football team wanting to unionize. And you know, the value proposition that they propose to the university is that they're their marketing arm. And certainly they spend a lot of time refining that craft that pays dividends on the field. And so there needed to be opportunity. But the fact that it happened kind of all of a sudden when there wasn't a regulatory environment around it makes it very disparate and is not, you know, it doesn't create parity and fairness of play. So where it's going in the end, I think they'll get their hands around it, but it is really important to universities to be able to engage their alumni, engage the marketplace for, you know, for this kind of opportunity for their student athletes. And it's different all across the board. You know, there's some people that are stretching the limits, and we'll see what happens there. There are some that are very, very cautious, and at Baylor, Baylor was very slow to react for probably good reasons. But, you know, at the same time, it's a priority for every school to have some answer to recruits when they're talking about, you know, what are my opportunities to. So the group that I work with kind of handles that, as you said, and we kind of viewed that since we are a support for small business, that there's 500 student athletes that have their own business now. Mm-hmm. And so we're big in the education space and then also trying to match make as well.
You know, and finally, you mentioned earlier about how, you know, you got to be prepared to go out there and play whenever you have an opportunity. You're still in great shape. If you get your number called right now, do you think you can? I think you can probably still sling it a little bit.
Well, I've been practicing.
Okay.
Yeah, because I'm throwing out the first pitch in a Little League game this week.
Oh, wow.
And I hadn't thrown anything except for my food in, you know, years. And so I'm not sure. We'll see how it goes.
We'll find out. Cody Carlson, Commander Cody, of Churchill High School, Baylor, and the Houston Oilers. Cody, appreciate your time, my friend.
Yeah, thank you, Greg. It was enjoyable.